What's up guys, Sio here with week 4 of the NES. This week we're taking on the Rai-Cats, coached by Fluka. If you missed the team builder, just check it out on the channel. If I remember, I'll link it in the description, but I've been pretty bad about that lately. But if you missed the team builder, I'm bringing a Choice Scarf Sylveon, a Choice Banded Weak Armor Skarmory, Life Orb Sheer Force Nidoking, Cresselia meant to beta in a Sneasel, which unfortunately didn't come. I actually kind of expected it to come, so I'm a little disappointed. But it still has light screen, so maybe I can get that up to help me deal with a couple of the special threats. Fightinium Z, Focus Blast, Zoroark with Sucker Punch and U-Turn and stuff like that. And then a Choice Scarf Galvantula meant to outspeed everything on this team except for a Choice Scarf Latias, so I have to play around that. He actually brought a team that I was pretty much expecting. I predicted the Cofagrigus and then the Fairy Dragon Steel Core because they just matched up pretty well against my team, I noticed. I was kind of surprised to see Emboar and Braviary because they're both slower but pretty hard-hitting threats. I prepped for both, so I'm prepared for both, but I definitely prepped less for them than Sneasel and I think Raikou was the other thing that I wanted to test against a lot. So this team's pretty slow, so I'm just going to go ahead and go. I don't need to lead Galvantula as much and get Sticky Webs up because the only thing that it would really help against are both off the ground, so it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'll pause this really quick I guess. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to lead Zoroark in the hopes that he leads Mega Aggron. In order to get this to work, I need to basically have Zoroark disguised as something that Mega Aggron wants to stay in against and set up rocks on. And to his knowledge, that's Skarmory, even though Skarmory is actually very offensive this week. So I'm going to lead Skarmory, quote-unquote, as he leads Aggron. Right here, I am perfectly fine with going for a Fightinium Z Focus Blast. And the reason why, even though he has a Cofagrigus on his team that he could switch into here, is because I don't see him really switching into Cofag on a Skarmory. In most instances, I've actually led Skarmory as just like a pretty safe lead, get up rocks or whatever, and then just do whatever, I guess. So I predict him to predict that it's safe here, to just go for rocks. So I'm going to break my own illusion and just go for the Focus Blast as he does stay in, which is awesome because I was so nervous that he was just going to switch out. It doesn't kill, unfortunately, because he's max HP and max FDF. But getting off like 80% on a Mega Aggron in one hit is pretty amazing because this thing has like 230 base defense or something like that. So from the get-go, I knew I wanted to hit it specially, and being able to smack it with Focus Blast and actually do a ton of damage is actually really nice. So seeing as how the rocks are up, Galvantula is a little bit hindered now, but really I didn't really mind him getting rocks up because Galvantula is the only thing on my team that's even weak to rocks, which is kind of crazy, I guess. But the way I see it, I definitely won that first turn. I can go for another Focus Blast here, but I'm instead just going to play it safe and go for a Dark Pulse because it hits everything on his team at least, and with my luck I would have not landed a Focus Blast. As you can see, it doesn't really do anything anyway, but whatever. And here, I'm kind of wishing that I just ran Gunk Shot to be able to hit Moana a little bit harder. But instead, I just make a hard switch here into Galvantula after seeing leftovers, because he's either defensive or he's Calm Mind lefties, Calm Mind sub-lefties, in which case I need to get into Galvantula immediately and just spam Thunder until it's not behind a sub anymore. He just goes for a Moonblast, and by that damage it just looks like he's kind of a standard defensive Tapu Fini, which is fine. I'm still going to go for a Thunder here because it still should be able to bring it down to the point where I can pretty much kill it with anything. I'm like 100% sure that he's going to go into Latias here, and I really kind of just want to go for a Bug Buzz, but if he doesn't, then I basically just threw away my Galvantula for no reason. So I'm going to go for a Thunder. Unfortunately, he does go into Latias, so, you know, whatever. Shock Roach being this low means that I can't switch back into Rock, so unless I want to save it as a fodder, I might as well just sack it off here. And by sacking it here, I could potentially see if he's Scarfed or not. If he outspeeds me, then that means he's a Scarfed Latias. If he doesn't, then that means I'm pretty much good to go with Scarf Sylveon for the rest of the game. So even though Thunder only does nothing, I still go for it. I was kind of hoping for a pair there, I'm not going to lie, because I think it's like a 30% paralysis chance with Thunder, but that's okay. I don't really ever like hope for hacks. It'd just be nice if it happened. So Galvantula drops really, really quick. I was kind of hoping to keep Galvantula around a little bit longer for this game, but it happens sometimes. I at least got information out of the exchange, and I learned that he's not a Calm Mind, or if he is Calm Mind, Tapu Fini, he hit it pretty well. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch into Sylveon here, because like I said, I outspeed at this point and can just smack something with Hyper Voice. It ends up being Mega Aggron here, so kind of funny that Sylveon takes down Mega Aggron. That crit did not matter in any universe. But it's kind of funny that a Sylveon takes down a Mega Aggron, because normally it's 100% the other way around. And next up, Emboar comes in, and it's at this point that I realized that my team is not 100% EV to deal with like a banded Emboar. My best switch in here is Cresselia, because it's the most useless member on my team, if I'm being perfectly honest. By that Flare Blitz, the burn didn't really matter at all because it was still going to 2-hit KO. By that Flare Blitz damage, I found out that he's most likely full attack. He doesn't seem to be banded, because that would have pretty much OHKO'd me, I think. But he seems to either have like full attack investment or some kind of attack boosting item. Because an Adamant Assault Vest, Flare Blitz, I guess, does 41 or 44 to 51, so it looks like he has a little bit more than that. I'm thinking he could potentially be a band with like a bulky band or something like that without max attack. At this point, I'm honestly just trying to figure out what to do to play around this thing. Sacking Cresselia, obviously, because nothing else on my team wants to take another Flare Blitz. So Cresselia goes down, and it's at this point that I realize that a Hyper Voice actually isn't going to kill. So I either need to sack something else to this thing and just take a ton of recoil, or go into my win con and hope that I outspeed, because I am a max speed Skarmory. And unless he's like pretty much, well, unless he's Scarfed, actually, he doesn't outspeed, because Skarmory is base 70 and Emboar is base 60 or 65, I think. But unless he's Scarfed, he doesn't outspeed here. And basically at this point, I just kind of had to hope that he wasn't, because either he was going to take a ton of recoil and I'd be able to kill with Sylveon, or I just would Brave Bird here and kill. Luckily I Brave Bird and kill, so Skarmory gets a pretty heavy hit off. Oops, Skarmory did the killing, not died. Skarmory gets a pretty heavy hit off. He sees that I'm most likely an offensive Skarmory here, but I don't really mind that at this point, because Skarmory's already in. And here I admittedly kind of make a misplay. I'm going to stay in here and Brave Bird just to get damage off, because at this point I am trying to set up for Sylveon or potentially Zoroark to sweep. But as you're about to see, I should have just switched out here, because I go for Brave Bird and actually do a decent amount of damage, but I lose Weak Armor, take Recoil, and he goes for an Infestation, which I was not expecting at all. So really good prep on his part. He told me after the battle that Infestation was meant to trap Mega Lopunny, just so I couldn't switch out. Which is pretty interesting. I don't think I would have actually stayed in against the Cofagrigus anyway if I had brought Mega Lopunny. But I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I actually did not plan on bringing Mega Lopunny at all this week. I may bring it next week, but I intentionally didn't want to bring it this week just because I noticed that it didn't match up super great. But anyway, so Skarmory's trapped in here, and I'm locked into Brave Bird, so literally the only thing I can do at this point is Brave Bird. I'm kind of wishing, after seeing the Infestation, that I would have just doubled into Zoroark, because I could have actually taken an Infestation, even though it's super effective. I think it's like 40% damage or something like that, and I resisted Shadow Ball, which was the other likely option. I remember now, during the battle, I did not want him to be a Trick Room Nasty Plot set, because I noticed that the rest of his team actually undersped the rest of my team. So I didn't want him to be Trick Room Nasty Plot and just Trick Room sweep me, so I wanted to get damage off and punish Trick Room, which is the reason why I stayed in, but I should have just gone into Zoroark anyway. Dark Pulse would have hit something on his team, and I could have potentially Sucker Punched or U-turn depending on the situation. You can tell based on how I'm talking about this that I lose Skarmory in this exchange, because obviously Bakura is able to kill me off here. I'm a little disappointed that I let Skarmory drop, because it does end up doing a little bit more work than I predicted it to. But that's okay. I have Bakura low, I can just go into Zoroark now and get a Dark Pulse off. There's really no reason for me not to, and I get a kill here. which is nice. I could have done that a turn earlier and potentially saved Skarmory, but at least I made the play eventually. And he goes into Braviary here, which I think is a little interesting. I think he's trying to just like sub bulk up on me or whatever. But predicting the sub here, I just go for a Dark Pulse because I should naturally outspeed. He then shows me that he's Scarf Braviary, which actually is kind of a humongous issue now because Scarf Braviary actually outspeeds the rest of my team. I'm going to go ahead and say that this was like bad prep on my part, I guess, because while I prepped for Braviary, I definitely only prepped for the sub bulk up set because that was the set I had most familiarity with, I guess. Looking back on it, Scarf Braviary obviously outspeeds Mega Lopunny, so I don't know why he wouldn't Scarf it, but that's just hindsight that I will learn from in the future. Okay. So, sorry, I had one of my Pokemon named wrong on my list. Zoroark is the one that died. Okay, so he turns into Moana, and I just send out Fluorite because the way I see it, if he is leftovers, he's probably not max attack, max speed, which is really the only way that he outspeeds and kills my Nidoking here because I am max attack and max speed. And if you don't know, Tapu Fini and Nidoking have the same base speed at 85, so worst case scenario here, it's a speed tie. If he is some weird max speed, max HP, he doesn't end up being that, spoilers, because I just go for a Sludge Wave and smack him. He actually said during his post-com, I noticed that he thought that Nidoking was Specs, but Nidoking does not really ever run Specs. Nidoking just gets the awesome benefit of Sheer Force, Life Orb, and a ton of moves to take advantage of it. So Moana drops, and he goes into Latias here. I just sack Nidoking because I need Sylveon to be healthy at this point because it's literally the only thing that outspeeds the rest of his team. Kind of wish I would have put Sucker Punch instead of Quash just to get a little bit of damage here. And at this point I'm calcing, and I admittedly realized that I lose unless he's some really weird Scarf Braviary that doesn't outspeed my Scarf Sylveon. Which the math doesn't add up to that, so I don't really expect him to. So I really want to lock myself into Quick Attack here and at least just get damage off on everything. But unfortunately, Quick Attack is like just barely missing out on a 2-hit KO on Latias, and it's nowhere near gonna OHKO Braviary from full. So I have to go for Hyper Voice here, even though I know it's not gonna really kill. It kills Lottie, but it does not kill Braviary because I don't get a chance to do damage. If he would have gone for a return there, I could have potentially gotten damage off. I wasn't a bulky Sylveon, so I didn't really expect to be able to kill at all. But if he got like a low roll on return, I could have potentially gotten a Hyper Voice off, which should have killed. But I lose 1-0. And honestly, it was a really great battle by Fluga. He played well, and I did not prep enough for Scarf Braviary, so it was kind of on my part. But even without all that, I still only lost 1-0, and I feel like I could have done better, so I guess that's okay. Great battle to Fluka. We play each other again later in the season, so I was kind of trying to be a little bit vague on like the sets I was really scared of. I probably dropped a couple hints throughout the video, so congrats Fluka, if you're watching this, you probably got a little bit of help for next time. But just know that I was heavily prepared for the stuff I was scared of anyway. I wasn't really as scared for Scarf Braviary and ended up winning the game, so I guess I'll need to look out for that a little bit more. But next week we take on... Who do we battle? Oh, the Miami Heatran, that's right. Next week we take on the Miami Heatran, coached by Nido. We've typically done well against him, but he's like 3-1 right now and actually has like a really good team, so I'll definitely prep for that pretty heavy. Before I sign off though, we have some free agency moves to make. So I know in my draft recap I was definitely hyping up Combuskin and Galvantula as like the things that made this team run really well, or at least made it scarier than it was, and I do think that they're very good Pokemon, and they do even have a place on this team in my opinion. But just looking through the free agency lists, because I wanted to make some moves while it was still early enough in the season where I had familiarity with everything, but I also wasn't like super attached to anything. I noticed that Combuskin and Galvantula were kind of the lacking members of my team, I guess I'll put nicely. Combuskin just didn't outspeed anything after speed boost. Like, I'm not going to pin this solely on the fact that it didn't outspeed a +1 Salamence, but just base 50 speed with speed boost, unless you're already playing a really slow team, it doesn't really work out that well. And if you're already playing a really slow team, you don't really need speed boost anyway. So I went ahead and dropped Combuskin. Galvantula was a little bit harder for me to drop because it was my only bug type on the team. It hit a really nice speed tier for me. It didn't hit like the perfect speed tier because there's not really a whole lot of difference between base 105 and base 108. But it also was kind of lacking a little bit offensively, and I didn't really end up using or needing sticky webs quite as much as I thought I was going to. A lot of the threats that I wanted to have -1 speed weren't affected by sticky web anyway. So yeah, as you saw this week, the two things that I was most scared of obviously were levitating and off the ground, so they didn't get hit by sticky web anyway. So sticky web just wasn't really working quite as well as I wanted it to. So with that, I decided to pick up Cryogonal and Darmanitan, whose nicknames will be Cryogon Alley and DK, by the way. I was pretty proud of that Cryogon Alley nickname, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Cryogonal gives me an offensive ice type that I haven't had. I know you're probably thinking, like, why are you saying that it's offensive when it only has, like, base 95 and 55 in special attack and attack, I think. But Ice type in general is just a very good offensive typing. It gives me another Levitator, which makes my ground weakness even less apparent. It also gives me another Rapid Spinner, which I haven't really needed to use yet, if I'm being honest. It seems like a lot of teams don't really have the time to set up like hazards against me, but if they do, I have another Rapid Spinner. So I have 2 Rapid Spinners and a Defogger, which is nice. I also have another knockoff user, which takes some of the pressure off of Zoroark to run that every week I want to run knockoff, which is nice. And it gives me 105 base speed, which is technically another duplicate speed tier for me. But with 2 base 105s, I should be able to kind of mix and match each week which one I actually want to bring. And to be perfectly honest, I just actually really like Cryogonal. I used it a lot in Gen 5 because I had it on a Nuzlocke team for a while. And I think it just hits a little bit better than you would expect it to. First of all, Freeze Dry is fucking amazing, and the fact that it has Stab Freeze Dry is even better, because a lot of ice types just get walled by water, but not anymore. And I guess if you really want to picture these transactions, I'm basically technically dropping Combuskin for Darmanitan and Galvantula for a Cryogonal, but since I wanted to keep it tier related, I just switched Cryogonal for Combuskin and Darmanitan for Galvantula. But next up we have Darmanitan, who in my opinion actually matches this team really well. I didn't need another Sheer Force user, but I did kind of want something to take some of the wall breaking pressure off of Lopunny and Nidoking. I have a lot of like strong offense, and honestly Darmanitan's actually a little bit bulkier than you would expect it to be because it has like 105 I think HP. But it has 105 HP. It gives me a much stronger Fire Water Grass core because I'm basically upgrading from Combuskin in that core to Darmanitan, which nobody will ever argue is not an upgrade. It's like just double or triple negative or something, but that's okay. So basically Darmanitan gives me another super offensive wall breaker. Base 95 speed is actually a new speed tier for me, so if I have something that wants to speed creep all the base 90s out there and stuff, I have another very valid Choice Scarf user. If I have a really slow team I'm going up against, I can maybe even be banded or something like that, but 140 attack's really nice and just gives me another offensive check, I guess. It also gives me a Will-O-Wisp switch in, which I was a little worried about. It hasn't happened this season, and I'm hoping it won't happen now. But yeah. So I'm pretty excited for my new members. I hope you guys kind of see the logic in why I'm bringing them. Let me know if you disagree in the comments down below. Let me know if there's any cool sets you want to see with the new guys, I guess. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week.